Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a brand new review for Mandalorian episode 7 of season 3, and as you can tell, this episode was so damn good that it blew the beard right off my pasty alien looking face. But before we dive into the episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button as we keep growing towards 250 subscribers. We are almost there, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you like the video as it helps us get noticed by new people in the terrible YouTube algorithm. Now, let's dive into this episode, and I'm getting so professional, I even took notes on some things I wanted to touch on. Now, this episode opens up on Coruscant, so we're like, oh, okay, it's going to tie back into that episode with Dr. Cushing, and we follow Katie O'Brien's character, and like, as soon as I saw like the world and like how it was the camera was following her from behind, I got so much Blade Runner vibes in Blade Runner 2049. And then she meets up with a probe droid, and we're like, okay, this is probably where the Moff Gideon of it all comes in. And sure enough, it is. And she's explaining to him that the Mandalorians have taken back Navarro, and he's like, God damn it, these Mandalorians are still a pain in my ass after all this time. I'm gonna have to take care of them. And that's kind of where that ends. Then we see him kind of going through wherever he is. It doesn't reveal where he is at this point. And we're seeing all these cool like variants of stormtroopers along the sides, and we're seeing him in his cool armor, of course. And then he goes into this like war council where one of the guys is Thrawn's like right hand man from the Thrawn novels, and the other, I put this in my notes, is Commander Hux, who is is it the uncle or is it the father? I can't remember. It's either the uncle or the father of General Hux from the sequel trilogy, and this is Brendel Hux. He is a big character in establishing the First Order in the Aftermath novels by Chuck Wendig, which the second and the third one are great novels. If you haven't checked those out, make sure you go read those, because they play in the same era, and it seems like we're going to be getting some crossover. And there's this big war council of like Empire remnants, and they're talking about Thrawn and how Thrawn is going to be the resurgence of the Empire, and like how he is the one behind the cloning, and he's kind of the driving force behind the cloning that eventually leads to Snoke and, of course, the Emperor from Rise of Skywalker. So it seems they're going to kind of retroactively try to make that story make more sense, which I'm a fan of. If they can make it make a little more sense, why not? But this is the first time we get a mention of Thrawn in canon live action Star Wars, which is really, really cool. And then we also get to see that Gideon doesn't really like Thrawn that much, Moff Gideon. He kind of wants to, do his own thing. He wants to take charge. He thinks he's the man, and we know he's not the man because Thrawn's coming. I think we might see Thrawn next week. We'll get more on that. And I have that, interestingly enough, also a big character in the novels and the video games. I believe she shows up in Battlefront 2, or is it Squadrons she shows up in? I can't remember. Rae Sloane seems like a character that would be in that kind of Empire War Council at this period of time, because she's got a relationship with Hux. She's in those Aftermath novels. She's one of the main characters, and she's possibly, her and Dr. Aphra are like the two best characters they've introduced in the comics, the books, that have not been brought to screen yet, and I want to see both of them, and I think we are going to get Rae Sloane. I'm just surprised that we haven't gotten her yet, especially with this. But after that, we get, the Mandos are finally going back to Mandalore after last episode where Bo-Katan united the clans. They're finally going back to take back Mandalore, and we get to see this weird creature thing attack some Mandalorians that were still on the planet, and then we go down below where they start fighting with the stormtrooper dudes we saw at the beginning of the episode where that Moff Gideon was walking by. So it's like, what's going on here? And it was very interesting to see. And then, of course, it all leads into an Imperial stronghold led by Moff Gideon being on Mandalore. And he's like, yeah, listen, F you, Bo-Katan, I'm taking back Mandalore. This is my planet now. This Mandalorian armor is the best it's ever been because I'm in it. He did like the Rob Van Dam. He's like, Moff Gideon. And then, they beat down Din, part of the capture and grab, the grab and go plan of Moff Gideon. They capture Din and take him to the briefing room, which does not sound like a fun place. And I assume we're going to see Pedro Pascal, helmet off next episode. And then we get a badass Paz Vizsla fight while the other Mandalorians are getting the hell out of there. Bo-Katan's leading the rest of them out of there, including Grogu in IG-11 armor. And, we get a cool, awesome throwdown fight with Vizsla where he's just taking out Stormtrooper guy after Stormtrooper guy. And then, just when we think he's going to catch up with the others, that he kind of won the fight, Pantorian guards. Yes, the guards from The Last Jedi, the cool red ones. That's my favorite scene in Last Jedi, is when Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting the Pantorian guards. So this got my nerd juices flowing. It got me all gushy inside, if you know what I'm saying. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, they show up and they make easy work of Paz Vizsla. They beat the shit out of Paz Vizsla, and they kill Paz Vizsla. He is dead, which is heartbreaking because, like, as a big Star Wars nerd, he's of course a big character in Mandalorian culture. We got introduced that he has a son earlier in this season, so we're gonna have to see, like, Bo-Katan possibly tell that son that, hey, your dad's dead, kid. And that's just heartbreaking, and it seems they kind of are dangling that in front of us again with Din and Grogu. Like, you know, Grogu went with the rest of the Mandalorians while Din's captured. Are they going to have to maybe tell Grogu that Din's gone? I don't think so. I don't think they got the stones to kill off Pedro Pascal. I assume the last episode's going to be all of the Mandalorians rushing down there to save him, or at least, you know, a squadron of them, including Bo-Katan and Grogu in his new IG-11 robot armor. Those are all the notes I have, but some more points to touch on is that we finally got some Din and Grogu, you know, relationship stuff where they're going with Carl Weathers. They get the IG-11 armor, and I was like, oh man, IG-11's back. That kind of takes away, like, the emotion of him sacrificing himself back in season 1, but they did it in a way that I still am not a huge fan of, but it gives Grogu something to do in a season where he's kind of had nothing, and, like, it kind of gives him a way to keep up with the rest of the Mandalorians without just floating around in his ball, so I kind of like that, and we do get some humor, which was nice. I do still think that, like, Din Djarin's still kind of taking the backseat to Bo-Katan. I hope maybe if they save him in, you know, the next episode, maybe in season 4, I love Bo-Katan, don't get me wrong, but I'm here to see Din. Like, I want to see Din doing some badass stuff, hopefully in that last season, presumably of The Mandalorian. And there was something else I wanted to touch on that I cannot remember. I can't remember it at all. Oh, I remember now. The other thing I want to touch on is the Armorer. I've been saying since season 1 when I saw her that I do not trust her. She looks like a villain, and in this episode she, you know, conveniently has a reason to leave right before the rest of the Mandalorians walk into a trap, and I just, something doesn't sit right with me. You know, the spikes on Moff Gideon's armor kind of look like the spikes on the Armorer's armor. I just, I don't trust her. I do not trust her, and I think we might get a reason to not trust her next week, because I think she might, you know, possibly get the rest of the Mandalorian fleet captured, and see where that goes from there. But this episode was definitely my favorite of the season. I loved this episode, and it might even just look better because of how much I didn't like last week's SNL sketch that we got. But yeah, I really liked this episode. I thought it was great. It pushed the story forward. I just wish the rest of the season would have been this good. Rick Famuyiwa is a great director, especially in the Star Wars landscape, and I can't wait to see what he does next week with the Mando Season 3 finale. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below. Did I miss anything? Were there more references to, you know, like a Ray Sloan or like some of those other people in the War Council that I just didn't pick up on? Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and where do you think we're going next week? Do you think Din makes it out? Do you think someone else has to sacrifice themselves? Like, does Bo get, you know, does the Armorer betray us all? Let's chat down there in the comments. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing towards 250 subscribers. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys right here next time.